Welcome back to the Hopeful Connection. My name is Whitley Lemon, and I am one of the co-hosts of this podcast. And I have an incredible guest with me today, a national trauma speaker, a husband, father, coach, educator, an author as well. And his name is Josh Varner. Josh, welcome to the show.
Yeah, excited to be here. Appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today.
Josh, you were a guest speaker for us at our R3 Summit in Columbia back in 2025. So it's so neat to have you back again and get to see you in person again. I would like to just start off, since we're going into the new year. Are you a person that likes to set New Year's resolution goals, or like not at all? You have goals that you're working on all year long, or what type of person are you with goals?
Yeah, I'm definitely an all year round kind of goal guy. Mm-hmm. I do love goals. If there's something I want to work on, I don't want to wait till the beginning of the year to kind of go forward with it. But I feel like life will continually present you with opportunities to learn and grow. Mm-hmm. And if you don't learn it, then you're going to repeat it. You right. Repeat what you don't repair. And so my big thing this year, I recently had a back injury. I've never had a back injury before. But it was because of my travel schedule and too much road time, too much driving without stopping. Yep. And so that's going to be one of my big things this next year, is figuring out how to make sure I'm taking care of my physical health that way. Okay. And, being as healthy as I can moving forward, because I'm just not 25 anymore. Right. And that's one of those things I think we learn as we age. Your body can't do the things it used to be able to do. But I don't want to wait for the new year, new me stuff. If there's something I want to work on, I want to kind of implement those things right away.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's great advice. And I'm right there with you on that. I think the New Year's thing, it's good for people that don't have an idea of something already, but it kind of shifts you like, okay, what can I work on this year? But if you're already goal oriented, you're already hammering those goals out throughout the year anyway. So I would like to just start digging into some of the chapter highlights of your life that has made you like who you are today. Yeah. Why are you passionate about trauma? Where did that come from? So let's get into that.
Yeah. I kind of a unique career arc. I don't know too many people that have had career arcs like me, but I got an undergrad degree in sociology. I played college football. A little school called Loris College in rural Iowa. I grew up in, I always joke, kind of in the middle of a cornfield in a little town called Fayette. Mm-hmm. But I went on to get my master's degree from the University of Wisconsin-Platteville, and I was the GA on the football team. Okay. And so that means I got to break down film to about 3 a.m. every night. Then the head coach would yell at me every day. It was a super awesome gig. Paid like $7,000 a year. It was a really high paying job. Woo. But I fell in love with college football. So I got the master's in counseling, but I loved the grind, the competition, the camaraderie. I went on to become a college football coach. I did that for about 10 years. I thought it was going to be my life's work. It's actually what brought me here to Missouri. Yeah. I was the OC at Lincoln University. Okay. But then I got married to my wife, Ashley, and we had our first child, Justina, and Claire was on the way. And I just was having a hard time figuring out, how do I be a great dad and do this college football thing at a high level? Mm-hmm. And so I made the tough decision to leave college football, the only career I ever knew, but I had the master's degree. Mm-hmm. And I decided I'm going to help kids with their mental health issues. I'm going to spend a heck of a lot more time with my own kids. And so I took a job at the Arthur Center in Mexico, Missouri. And it was just, getting thrown into the deep end of the pool. Some kids, some pretty significant mental health challenges. Okay. And what I really found at that moment was my master's really taught me how to wield the DSM-4 TR. It's the DSM-5 TR now, but I really knew how to label kids, and then we'd give them to psychiatrists and we'd medicate kids. That was kind of the framework in which I was trained. Right. But what I found in doing the job was all these kids were significantly impacted by trauma. All these kids had tough life situations. I wasn't getting the outcomes I wanted. I'm feeling burnt out. Yeah. I left a career where I was vibrant, successful, excited to go to work every day. Now I'm struggling. I want to help. I don't know how to help. Yeah. And to be honest with you, I thought, I'm going to have to switch careers. I'm going to do something different. But I was fortunate. I saw my first trauma-informed speaker at Hickman High School in Columbia, Missouri, and it was transformational for me. Really shifting my paradigm away from what's wrong with that kid to what happened to that kid. And, I'm a lifelong learner. And so I followed the experts, read their books, went to conferences, talked to people that were doing amazing work in this field, and just started having a lot more success with these kids. And I think that's the drug. Anybody who works with these kids that have been impacted by trauma, it's the most addictive feeling to see them change and grow and have success. Yeah. And so I went from community-based mental health to the school system because time is the most important variable, and our schools have more of it than anybody. And so I was a school counselor. I ran an at-risk youth program called JAG. Did a lot of different work in the school system, helping kids thrive. And then I live in Jefferson City, Missouri, and there's lots of kids impacted by trauma. And so when you got tools that work, you just want to share them. And so I go talk to a church, go talk to some foster parents, CASA, and never thinking it would be a career. But just kind of grew, especially post-COVID. But I've been doing this full time, coming up on 4 years, sharing this message all over the country. Wrote a book about it, and really just kind of happened organically. And I just feel like it's kind of my purpose to go out there and help people. Because, everybody wants to help these kids, but a lot of people don't understand the problem. They don't know what to do. And that's really what I feel like that's my niche in this movement is helping make it simple, make it easy, make it engaging, and, give people tools that work.
Yeah. Now, speaking of books, the name of your book is Be Their Hero. Yeah. When did you write that?
So my book will be 3 years old this summer. So it's about 2.5 years old.
Okay.
I actually wrote it during COVID. I was stuck in a classroom with no kids.
Okay.
And so I thought, if I'm ever going to write this book, now's the time. But I actually sat on for a while. I was kind of speaking, I feel really comfortable with. Writing, not as much. But I have a good friend of mine, Ann Rulo, who's a terrific author and therapist. And she kind of helped me get it across the finishing line. And it's done really well. I can't tell you. I'm just blown away by the amount of people all over the country that have picked that book up and reached out to me. And so, I'm excited. I have a second book, hopefully coming out this summer.
Yay.
Going to be talking about stress and how to deal with it. And really, how do you build a life that you don't need to escape from is really the theme that I want people to have with that one. So you'll get a chance to, people will be able to look that up this summer, hopefully.
Great.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
Now, can you give us kind of the meat and potatoes of what readers can expect out of your book?
Yeah. So I feel like people learn through stories.
Yeah.
And so if I want somebody to remember something a year from now, 2 years from now, they will remember stories. And so we follow a story of a child that was significantly impacted by trauma. And then we talk about some of the setbacks that kid had and the tools that help that kid be successful. And so really, what do we want to accomplish with that book? Hey, how many people in our community are impacted by trauma? I think a lot of people are, we're looking at, almost 20% of our community have been significantly impacted by trauma, are very high risk for negative outcomes.
Yeah.
What do they look like and act like? Because we don't know their story. A lot of times people don't know their own story. Trauma impacts how memories are stored and recalled. And so a lot of people don't even know their own. Trauma happens before memories are even formed. Yeah. So a lot of times people don't know their own story, but they'll communicate it with their behavior. So what does fight, flight, freeze look like with the people we're trying to serve every day? And then the most important part is, hey, what are the tools that work? This stuff doesn't have to be as complicated as we think it is sometimes. It's really, how do we get as many people as possible in our community to wrap that person up with as many layers of love, support, and connection as possible? Because that's ultimately what helps people heal from trauma. And so I always say we're not going to social work our way out of this problem. I love social workers. They're really important people.
Absolutely.
There's not enough of them.
Yeah, there's not.
And the brain doesn't care where that therapeutic moment comes from. If it's your bus driver, your teacher, your coach, your pastor. Yes. It only cares how many times do I feel loved, safe, and connected. And unfortunately, a lot of kids haven't gotten enough of those moments, but we can be intentional. But what I see is the big problem is when you're dysregulated frequently because of your trauma, those are the kids that get the least love and connection from our community. Yeah. And they need it the most. Right. So we have to really be intentional about seeing that person struggling, helping them get regulated, and then surround them with that love and support. When we do that, we get awesome outcomes. Right. Because the alternative is they're put in isolation in some cases, and that does more harm than good. I know you talk about neuroplasticity in your presentations. Can you talk about how that helps rewire the brain and some of the things that you've actively done in some of your roles to influence like middle schoolers, for example, or even your spouse? So the number one tool we have in our toolbox is neuroplasticity. Our brains are constantly changing. The younger we are, the more neuroplasticity we have. But research is now saying we have really malleable brains up until about 27. Okay. And so I'm 44. I still have neuroplasticity, not nearly as much as I did when I was younger. Right. Yeah. And so the big thing I try to get across to communities I work with is it's way easier to fix broken kids than broken adults. And I'm not saying we can help people heal at any stage in their life, but we have a limited amount of resources. Yeah. And so I want to invest them as young as possible. And that's why most of my work I do is with our schools because A, they get a ton of time, and B, we have really malleable brains. And so the key with the neuroplasticity is every moment wires the brain. And so there's a guy named Bruce Perry who's, I think great book, several books. He's probably the best person in this field.
Books. I'm thinking of the one.
the Boys Raises a Dog.
Yes.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
What Happened to You? He wrote with Oprah Winfrey. Fantastic. But love his work. But he talks about the power of these therapeutic moments. And it only takes about 20 seconds to create new neural pathways in the brain.
Wow.
And so the brain actually likes short interactions more than long ones.
Okay.
And so you think about, like, if I'm a child in your community, how many different people am I interacting with every day? And now if I'm struggling with my behavior a lot because of my trauma, most of those interactions are negative, and we actually reinforce their trauma and we make it worse.
Yeah.
What happens when we surround that kid with as many layers of love, safety, connection as possible? So I'll give you an example. We had a really traumatized young girl I worked with at the middle school level, and we were very intentional about creating as many of these moments as possible. So we trained the bus driver. Bus drivers are one of my favorite groups to work with. They're incredible because they get the first and last therapeutic moments. That bus driver was trained, open the door, big smile. I'm Mr. So-and-so. Hope you have a great bus ride. And then when you get off that bus, once again, hey, thanks for riding my bus today. Hope you have a great day. Can't wait to see you this afternoon. That kid already had 2 therapeutic moments before they even walked into their school building, right? But then we were trained 2 adults, greet her at the front door. Hey, so happy you made it back today. Hope you have a wonderful day. When she went in and got her breakfast, lunch lady was trained, big smile. Hey, I made this special for you. Hope you really enjoy it. Can't wait to see you at lunch. And food's a big deal. Do kids feel loved and safe when they're fed? It's a big deal. It's basic human needs, right?
Yes.
But we train the custodians, the coaches, the teachers, the administrators. You see her in the hallway, stop, smile, connect with her. But it can't just be the adults. We got the kids on board, got our lunch buddy, and then she made a friend in her special ed classroom. And so, and what we saw is it took time, and that's
it's not a microwave process.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem is everybody wants it fixed yesterday, and that's I think a big reason why medications are so popular. And I'm not anti-med, but best case scenario is the meds help us deal with the symptoms. They don't get to the root, right? And it takes time. I would say they didn't get traumatized overnight. They're not going to heal overnight.
Right.
But when you're intentional with that process, that brain heals. And the more people you get on board, the quicker they heal. I have people that come to me and say, it's taking too long. I say, get more people involved.
Yeah.
And then I have schools I work with to say, it used to take 6 months, not take 6 weeks. It used to take 2 years, not take 6 months. Like it can, we can speed this process up, but it's all about training. And I've flown all the way across the country to go work with bus drivers. I think it's awesome. They get forth there, and so
that's so cool.
And that's what I mean when I say we can't social work our way. That social worker might see that kid one time a week, one time a month. They're important, and they're going to do some big important things. But if that bus driver's seeing them 4 times a day,
that's huge.
That's big, and that the bus driver could change that kid's life. So it's not. It's not what our title is. It's really how much face time do we get with that kid, and do we have simple tools like smiling, greetings. The number one tool in our toolbox is our own regulated nervous system. My school, they used to call it Varner voodoo. They're like, how'd you calm that boy down? He's throwing chairs. What'd you do? They acted like I had a dog whistle. I don't have a dog whistle. I have a calm nervous system. And if I'm calm and regulated, I'm giving that kid a chance because we're really good at reading each other. And if I'm calm, I got a shot. And so that's the number one tool is our own calm. But let's be real, it's tough because when you're working with dysregulated people all day, we have this thing called mirror neurons, and it's hard not to match their dysregulated state.
Right. Yeah. So what would be your advice to someone who's trying to set the stage or create an environment like with the individuals that we support that are likely dysregulated, or maybe they've just come into placement with this home? What would be your advice to help them with that part of their brain and staying calm? Yeah. So anytime that we go through change, your brain views it as a threat. And so we're getting a new placement. That's everything. That's a pretty dysregulated environment. Typically going through a lot of change. But the first step is always keeping yourself calm. I find that I'm pretty good at this with other people's children. It's harder with my own kids. And so, if you're dealing with this all day, every day, I get how that's hard. The technique I like to use, I wrote about this in the book. I use this as a parenting technique. I use it for teachers. It's called relax, reconnect, reteach. Anytime I need to discipline somebody, because you cannot punish the trauma out of a kid. We'll punish them all the way to prison. It doesn't work. We love punishment means you hurt me, I'm going to hurt you. We love punishment in our culture. It's not effective. I believe in discipline. Yeah.
If we don't discipline these kids, we're setting them up for failure,
Yeah.
right? So discipline comes from the
Yeah.
root word
You have to set
disciple.
the foundation.
Yeah. It comes from the root word disciple, which means to teach. And so every poor behavior is an opportunity to learn and grow. And so but you have to discipline traumatized brains differently. And the reason, the science behind that is dysregulated brains don't learn. You know, when you're dysregulated, you only get about 8 to 10 words, and that's about all you can absorb. And so a lot of times we're talking and they're not hearing us.
Yeah.
And then you see the same behavior and you get stuck in that cycle. And so the reason why I teach relax, reconnect, reteach is I have to regulate their brain before I discipline them.
Okay.
So relax is safety, reconnect is connection, safety, connection, now learning is possible. Reteach is the learning phase. So relax, the first step I got to do is get myself calm.
Right.
With my own kids, I go for a walk. It's hard for me to stay calm with my own kids. Like my son put a Hayden-shaped hole in the wall the other day, you know?
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not happy about that, you know?
No.
And so I'm like, son, I got to go take a walk before we talk about your discipline, you know? Come back. Now I'm calm. Now when I'm calm, I want to calm their nervous system. I found the two best ways to do that is either movement or mindfulness. Movement works because we get the adrenaline and the glucose and the cortisol out of their bloodstream.
Yeah.
Going for a walk, shooting hoops, lifting weights, punching a punching bag, those kind of things. Mindfulness is what activity gets you right here. So like coloring books, dot to dots. We're not talking. Talking escalates in the first step. This is typically what we do is talk. Talking escalates dysregulated brains. Okay. So once I get that nervous system calmed down, now we can reconnect. I always say you got to connect before you correct. A lot of us have heard that phrase before. The reason why that's so important is so many kids don't know what unconditional love is.
Yeah.
Love has always been conditional. I'm loved if I meet these parameters.
Right.
And I want to let them know I care about you no matter what. Even when you mess up, I still care about you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take the time and I'm going to listen and validate.
Right.
Now, I'm not, so this whole step, you really want them talking about their experience, what happened, and you're going to listen and validate. I don't validate the behavior, so I never say, great job throwing a chair, new record, you know, great new swear words I learned today. I'm validating the feeling behind it. So you must have been angry, scared, disappointed, frustrated.
Yeah.
So now they're safe, now they're connected. If they're connected, because when people are listening and validated, they feel close to you. If you want to connect with anybody on earth, listen and validate their experience. So now we're safe. Now we're connected. Now we can learn. Now the discipline needs to happen.
Right.
You know, and I'm a big believer, fix what you broke.
Yeah.
So I have kids tear a bunch of books off in the library. What do they got to do? Put them back on the shelves, man. You know, my son put a Hayden-shaped hole in the wall. What does he got to do? Well, dude, we're going to have to like tape it and patch it and sand it and paint it.
But he's going to be right there.
And that's him learning the cost of not holding the railing when you're running on the stairs, right?
Yeah.
We had a bunch of kids at our school. They tore up the bathrooms, TikTok challenge, you know, but don't worry, they videotaped the whole thing.
Yeah.
So we caught them. But, you know, our handbook said we could send them home for 2 weeks, but if we sent them home for 2 weeks, they would get better at Fortnite. Like it's not, they're not learning by getting sent home, you know? But we did is, okay, you have to fix everything you broke. You have to stay after school every day and work with our custodian. And I can't tell you, these kids would come to me afterwards and go, Mr. Varner, it took me 3 days to fix it. It took me 5 minutes to tear it up. I'm like, yeah, that is the cost of your behavior.
Yep.
And by the way, the custodian, you have a relationship with him now. He's a good dude. Now you understand if I tear something up, he has to fix it. That's not cool.
The respect there for them is developed.
Yeah. And that's how people learn and grow. And so that relax, reconnect, reteach. Most stuff is interpersonal. So the big thing I ask people to do is you got to look the person in the eyes that you hurt and you need them to tell you how it felt.
Right.
Because that actually wires the brain for empathy. And we have an empathy gap in society today because of these dang phones.
Yeah.
Because we do all of our hurting online and we don't see faces. And faces is how we develop empathy.
You would never say the things that you do, or like, you know, people do say face to face.
Just look what people say on Facebook. Like it blows.
Yeah.
You would, like you said, you'd never say it in person,
no,
right?
You would not.
And that just shows you the empathy gap in our culture.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, that's why I'm a big believer. Get in the same room, sit down.
Yes.
You know, as a middle school counselor, that's all I did all day long was have kids look other kids or have a teacher look a kid in the face, say, this is how it made me feel. And we're literally brick by brick wiring that brain for empathy.
Yeah.
Because if we don't, we're going to have unempathetic adults. And what does that look like in our community? It's not, it's not a pretty thing, right? And so empathy is actually a skill. And we have to be much more intentional about teaching it today because of the phones. The phones are empathy killers.
Yeah. I know you talk a little bit about connection has a history. Can you talk more about that? Like how you dive into that in your presentations, what that means?
about the history of connection?
Yes, the history of connection.
So the history of connection is the number one predictor of life expectancy.
Yes.
So it is our human superpower. And so, how well connected you are is going to predict how long you live, better than smoking, diabetes, body weight. Like
yeah.
it's this incredible thing. And so it's really the key to solving this issue with trauma too. So I would say the problem isn't the trauma. The problem is they're alone with the trauma.
Right.
Because when people have really good relationships, they're really, really resilient. When people are alone, they're really, really vulnerable. And there's dozens and dozens of studies that have backed this up. I found one of the most fascinating was they took this orphanage. It was run by the Catholic Church. A lot of kids were sexually abused, unfortunately. But some of them went on to become CEOs and pillars of the community and successful. And some of them went on to homelessness, addiction, mental health issues, incarceration. And they're like, why are we getting two different outcomes when they, were both raised in the same facility?
Right.
And what they found was the kids that went on to become successful adults had at least one person during their childhood that they felt safe, connected with, and loved. And the ones that did not get that went on to these negative outcomes. And there's been dozens of studies that have shown this. And that's why I always tell people you can't teach kids grit. It's not something we can teach them.
Yeah.
It's a gift you give them with your relationship.
Okay.
And so, anytime we're working with somebody, that all those fight, flight behaviors and freeze behaviors tend to push people away, and they tend to be isolated and alone. And that's actually what makes them vulnerable. And so it's really, I always used to challenge my staff, who's going to be the teacher that gets on the beach? Who's going to be the first person that connects with that kid? Because if they connect with you, then connect with me afterwards, right? Like I can get on the beach behind you. Who's got a chance? Who feels like they got an in? And that's why I love our clubs and our sports and our activities, because so many kids are passionate about that. And that their coach ends up being, for my daughter, she's in speech and debate, and she's in the orchestra, all the arts. She's doing fantastic, but that's where she's found her home, right? And so it's like every kid has something. Can we plug an adult into their life that can make that impact? Because if they go through our community and none of us adults connect with that kid, that's a negative outcome. But if one of us can find a way to get past their defense mechanisms, I always say it's hard to hug a porcupine.
Yes. Yes.
The kids that come to school and go, nobody loves me, we love me, we love the heck out of those kids. But the ones that come to school and that tell us to F off or push us away or won't look at us and put their hoodie up and put their head down.
Right.
After you've been pushed away a couple of times, you go, I don't like you either, But that's why I understand the science behind those behaviors is so powerful, because then you start seeing and go, okay, this is what's going on with you.
Right.
I'm gonna get curious instead of furious, instead of letting you push me away.
Right. And those are the ones that need more engagement and connection, even though they have their walls up,
They're experts at pushing people away. And that's how they've survived.
Right.
Because for them, the most dangerous thing in the world is people.
Yeah.
And if I'm alone, I'm safe. That's what their brain has learned. People have hurt me over and over again. You see it a lot with kids in foster care.
Yeah.
If I connect with you, you're going to abandon me. If I connect with you, you can hurt me. And so they're experts at alone. But if we're alone, we're so vulnerable.
Protection.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I had listened to one of your presentations, and you had talked about, let me find it here, something regarding a smoke detector.
Yeah.
And how it's basically how traumatic events stay with us. Can you hit on that and what that means?
Yeah. So I think, how does trauma impact us, right? I think is the kind of question you're asking here. And so I always say understanding trauma is as simple as understanding front of the brain, back of the brain. Front of the brain, back of the brain. We don't need to learn a bunch of brain parts. We don't need to make this stuff complicated.
Right.
Where are you at, the front of the brain or the back of the brain? Now, the front of the brain is super cool. It's where we're both at right now. When we feel safe and connected, we can access the front of the brain. This is where we learn, where we make decisions. I mean, the studio, it's amazing. Art, technology. We can do all this incredible stuff because we have this robust, amazing front of the brain. But the problem with the front of the brain is it's slow. Takes time to make decisions.
Yeah. Takes
time to do complex thinking. We don't always have time. But we have the back of the brain. Now, the back of the brain is laser fast, but we have no control. So breathing, heart, digestion, you're digesting breakfast, you're not thinking about it. The back of the brain is doing it automatically for you, right? And so think back of the brain, think laser fast, no control. But you can imagine if like a bear came running our studio here and attacked you, you don't want to be in the front of the brain where no. Why is he here? What should I do? Human beings wouldn't survive very long. So whenever we're in a life or death situation, we have this little thing in the middle of our brain called the amygdala. That's a weird word. I always like to call it a smoke detector.
Yeah.
And all the smoke detector's job is to do is recognize a threat, and it just shuts off all this complex, slow thinking, activates the back of the brain. Now the back of the brain is in charge.
Gotcha.
And so whenever in a life or death situation, the back of the brain comes online, and it's going to pick from 3 options, and you don't even get to pick which one.
Right.
Fight, flight, or freeze. And what your brain wants to do is run. And that's what the adrenaline, the glucose, and cortisol help you do, is run farther, run faster. If you're trapped, it'll say, we got to fight out of this corner. If you can't fight because you're not strong enough, you can't run because you're not fast enough, we freeze. And that's where we numb out, we disassociate, we get foggy. And so your brain learns, and your brain picks all this stuff for you.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we judge it. We see it with like law enforcement, for example, or folks in the military, and we say, oh, you should have responded this way. I would have responded that way. You don't know till you're in that situation.
Right.
And your brain
That's
actually
so
picks
true.
the one that's going to give you, not your friend, the best chance of survival. Your brain thinks
Gotcha.
self-preservation.
Okay.
And so that's kind of the mechanism that happens. But the interesting part is your smoke detector remembers every single traumatic event of your life forever. But it doesn't think about it through a memory. It does it through your senses. What you smell, taste, touch, hear, see. And if you get that same stimuli, you get the same back of the brain that kept you alive last time.
Right.
And so what you're trying to do is predict the next traumatic event before it even happens. And that's why you'll have people who are like, they've dealt with a lot of physical abuse, and now somebody's stern tone gets them into a fight response, or gets them into a freeze response, right?
Right.
Or a smell. You know, I'm doing a lot of work in St. Louis with an amazing school there that went through a pretty significant tornado event. And we talk about air pressure could be a trigger. Tornado, you know, weather sirens can be a trigger.
Yeah.
Rain, clouds can be a trigger. You know, we're going through all these different things. And that's really what I try to train the people I work with, is if you get curious instead of furious, you'll figure these kids out.
Yeah.
Because you'll say, okay, what just happened? I'm not going to match your dysregulated state. You're in a fight response. You're in the back of your brain. What just happened? Oh, you tend to get dysregulated when you interact with this other child, or right after lunch every day, or, you know, you start putting that puzzle together. Because I always feel like every person's a puzzle. And if we get curious, we'll start figuring them out. And we can remove a lot of these things that actually trigger them, and they'll stay a lot more regulated throughout the day. And if we can't get rid of the trigger, it has to be part of their day, we can teach them how to get regulated afterwards.
Right.
And that's really what this work is about, is identify the situations that dysregulate them. Don't match their dysregulated state. Stay calm. Regulate their nervous system. We do that consistently. We have this thing called prolonged exposure, where their brain heals over time, and that they realize that trigger isn't what I thought it was, and they heal, but it takes time.
Yeah. Now, I know you've kind of hit on this a little bit already, but like, how does body language and all of that give you an indication that something's going on? And then what things do you start implementing to kind of peel the layers off that individual?
So what kind of body language tells me that person's in the back of their brain?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? So with fight is typically verbal aggression more than anything. I see definitely physical aggression. People kick, bite. The younger they are, the more like animalistic it is. You know, you do like a 3-year-old, they'll like scream, bite. Like it's very like their little
claw.
As they get older, it's still fight. It just looks more complicated. And so most of the time it's verbal, but it will be physical, the punching, the kicking, the hitting. That's a fight response. Flight is typically when they're little, they run. They will literally be gone. And what they're letting you know is, I don't feel safe. Something triggered my past. I'm running out of here. As they get older, their brain learns running doesn't work. The adults come after me every time. And so as they get older, it's typically more hoodie up, head down, ear pods in. I'm not looking at you. I'm not talking to you. I don't feel safe with you. And then freeze is typically that foggy face. Nobody's home, disconnected. Hey, are you there? That's that disassociation. That's typically how they're telling you, hey, I'm in the back of my brain. I need help to get back to the front of the brain. Okay. And so when you see somebody in the back of the brain like that, the number one tool I have in my toolbox is my nervous system actually wants to match it. You know, if you ever see those white-tailed deer, if one tail pops up, they all pop up.
Right.
And they run. Well, they communicate stress with their tails. We don't have tails, so we do it with our faces.
Okay.
And so when you work with somebody who's in a fight response, your brain goes, you're not safe. I'm not safe.
Right.
And that's, you'll notice that if you work with people that are in a fight response a lot, you will feel irritable. You'll feel on edge.
Yeah.
Because your brain is going, you're not safe. I'm not safe.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And same thing with freeze people. You work somebody that's low energy, lethargic, numb, foggy. You spend a couple hours with them, man, it sucks the energy out of you too. You're exhausted. So that's the mirror neurons. And so I found that like I work with dysregulated kids all day.
Yeah.
I have to find a way to stay calm and really fight against my own biology. And so my best tool is I literally, when I see a kid dysregulated, a person dysregulated, I ask myself, are they in the front of the brain or back of the brain? And typically, if I'm asking that question to I just do this in my own head, back, they're in the back of the brain. And that label is it fight, flight, or freeze. That's fight. That verbal aggression's fight. That's freeze.
Yeah.
And what that does is that gets me curious instead of furious, right? It puts me into a calm state. And that I'm telling you, I got to practice that so much in a school. I can use it out in the community. I had one about a year ago now, but I was at the University of Missouri. I was working with their doctors on this topic, and I'm in the parking garage, and this guy comes by in his truck. He almost hits me. He's flying through there. And he rolled down his window. He said all the 4-letter words to me. I wanted to say those words back so bad. But I worked in a school, so I was like, hey, is he in the front of the brain or the back of the brain?
Right.
Back. Is it fight, flight, or freeze? He's giving me a fight response.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I didn't run the guy down and be like, hey, man, are you okay? You know, like,
right.
He drove off. But here's the deal. And if I get curious instead of furious, I'm at a major medical center. What just happened to that guy?
Yeah. Oh, gosh, there's no telling.
Probably the worst day of his life.
Right.
It has nothing to do with me. And I'm telling you, that is the place we got to be able to get to.
Yeah.
Is he just went through a really tough thing, and he's dumping his pain on me, and it's not mine to carry.
Right.
It's not. It's the same thing with these kids. They've been abused. They've been neglected. They come to school. They come to foster homes. They come to churches. They come to all these places, and they dump their pain onto other people.
Yeah.
And you can't carry all that pain. If you're working with children every day, you can't. And so it's not mine to carry. I'm going to observe it. And if I can get into that place mentally, I can have a lot of success.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, most of the time, and I'm not blaming educators or anybody who works with kids, because it's our brain working the way it's supposed to, but we literally kind of have to, we start understanding the science behind that, and we can stay calm, then we start having breakthroughs. Because if they escalate me, what am I telling their brain? You're not safe either, right? You can see how now the whole classroom's dysregulated, now the whole school's dysregulated. We got to break those cycles, and our calm is the best way. And that was the best tool I had in my toolbox. Are they in the front of the brain, the back of the brain? And then I label it fight, flight, freeze. That's my best tool. And you can do that as a parent. You can do it with your own kids.
Yeah.
You can do it whatever you're, and I say kids a lot, but this is true of adults too. This stuff doesn't disappear at 18.
Yeah. Any individual. Yeah. And ultimately, everyone just needs to feel like they belong, and like someone's believes in them and is fighting for them and is not going to give up on them.
Yes.
I mean, that's a huge part, I feel like, in what we do. And we see, I've heard this time and time again, behaviors, like you said, they're good for a little bit, and then we'll have a flare up or an intenser level of a behavior, but they're kind of like testing you, or it's, a foreign feeling for them to feel safe. And so they're, going to try different things. But at some point, then I feel like there's the breakthrough that finally happens with a lot of our individuals, and they end up staying with our homes indefinitely. They've found their place. They are safe. They're comfortable, and they can be who they are with their homes. And so anyway, I feel like that's a beauty in how all of this like crossovers into what we do and the message that you're trying to put out into the world. So,
and really what you were saying is like eventually their brain realizes this person's safe. Yeah. And that I'm telling you, that person is their hero.
Right.
That person is the one that finally got past the defense mechanisms long enough. Because I always say change isn't linear. And this is where a lot of people get stuck, is we see good positive change. There will always be a backslide. It is not linear. And what I see is a lot of adults get off when they have that backslide, or maybe the second backslide, or maybe the third. And that's a normal, nobody changes. I don't know if you've ever tried losing weight, but when I've tried losing weight, I don't lose 1 pound a week until I disappear, right? I do really good. And then I have, Thanksgiving.
And then Christmas, Thanksgiving, And
the kids are the same way. And so if you go in with that mindset of like, we're going to have some backslides. I see it all the time with the kids I worked with, they're doing really, really good, and then dad gets out of prison. Well, that changes the dynamic at home, right? They're doing really, really good, and then their placement gets disrupted, or, whatever. It's that time of year when the abuse happened. You'll see all these things that impact people. Change is not linear. And if we go in there with the mindset that, hey, we're going to have some bad days, some bad moments, that's part of the healing process.
Yeah.
We can get there.
Yeah. So as far as this new book that you have coming out, and it's regarding stress. Do you have a name for it yet? Or are you still
we have a working title.
Okay.
So I try to build books off of talks that I know work.
Gotcha.
And so I originally wanted to talk to people about trauma. I still want to talk to people. That is what I am passionate about.
It's not going away.
It's not going away.
No.
But what I found was working with the helpers, that the helpers weren't okay.
Yeah.
And so this actually started out, this book and this presentation really came from working with my own staff. So we were in the middle of about 18 months after COVID started, were some dark days in education.
Yeah.
We were doing a lot of trauma-informed work with my school. I was working with this lady named Beth Huff, who's just world-class principal. And she came to me and said, we have to take a pause in this trauma-informed stuff. I go, what are you talking about? Take a pause. Like, the kids need it now more than ever. Our kids are, the world's hurting.
Right.
She said, our staff aren't okay. She's like, you got to figure out how to help our staff before we can help these kids. And it kind of floored me because I didn't even think about that. It wasn't even something.
From an empty cup. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I started going down this rabbit hole and learning about stress and how it impacts us and you know, how most of us numb it and healthy ways to get it out. And started sharing the talk on that. And I do that talk as much as the trauma talk. And I do a ton with healthcare workers, actually. Yeah. You think about two professions that got hit hard by COVID.
Oh, my gosh.
Healthcare workers and educators. I do it with like a funeral home folks. I know that that's morbid, but you hear their stories.
I think
they've gone through some really hard years. Yeah. You know, first responders. Police officers, and you hear their stories, you're like, oh my gosh. And I always say a lot of these professions, it's not a matter of if you're going to get traumatized, it's when, and what do we do with it when it happens? And that's what I talk to a lot of my folks in healthcare about. Like, you're working in an emergency room every day, you're going to get traumatized.
Oh yeah.
Do we recognize when our coworkers are struggling? Do we have plans to help them get support and heal? Because it's going to happen if you do that line of work. And so that's really what this book is about, is people learning about how stress gets embedded into our bodies and what are the evidence-based ways to release that stress instead of numbing it. Most of us numb it. Alcohol, marijuana, food is mine. That tends to be how I try to numb my stress. And the book really, we did not build our society around your needs and my needs. We built it around money. I mean, that's what we've built our culture. And,
True.
And so the book is, what you'll find is most people, we're really good at labeling people's mental health struggles. I don't think we're good enough at understanding why they're struggling.
Yeah.
And so what the book's really going to do, and what the talk does, is helps people identify areas of their life where they're neglecting their basic human needs and then being intentional about meeting their needs. So what I see a lot is people don't sleep. Well, if you're not getting 7 to 9 hours, your mental health's going to be poor.
Right.
Period. End of story, right? People, they're not moving enough. You know, if you're not getting movement, is the best way to release stress. It's the number one treatment for anxiety and depression. But it doesn't have to be this thing you hate. You know, we always say change your body. You don't need to change your body, but you do need to move to release stress. So I like to walk. I like to hike. Movement, lack of sleep, and then lack of connection. Those are the big three that I see. People are too isolated and alone. And the phone isn't connection.
No.
The phone is designed to make you think you're meeting your basic human need connection, because that's the number one need not being met in the modern world, is basic human connection.
Right.
And so you especially see this with men as they age. They tend to be isolated and alone. We used to have a lot of spaces for men. Yeah. And the elks, the mooses, the lodges, we don't have those things anymore. And so I really encourage men to connect over activities.
Yeah.
If you're a hunter, if you like football, go to the game, go golfing with your buddies. But we tend to need, you guys can connect interpersonally. That must be great.
Right.
But men tend to connect over activities. And so we have to be really intentional as we age about our connections.
Like even with church groups too, a lot of men, if you can get engaged in that type of setting, there's a lot of opportunity there to build relationships and connection and to vent or whatever that looks like for men in those arenas. But that's another good place. And opportunities to get, more saturated with other males and stuff too.
I agree.
Let's see here. Now, I remember we had this conversation, and I think it was after your presentation in Columbia at the summit. You said you had done like a case study on yourself with your phone.
Yeah.
And it was something like some settings that you shifted on your phone. Is this part of the book, or was this some one-off?
Well, if I write a third book, this might be here's what I do with my work. I try to just get curious about every time I do an event of somebody saying to me, hey, could you solve this problem too? So I originally wanted to talk about trauma because I just saw that as a problem.
Yeah.
And then people said, we're struggling with stress. And so then I'm like, okay, I got to come up with something. Yeah. The last 3 years, people come talk to me about all the time, the phones, the phones and the mental health. So went down the rabbit hole, and I have this new talk called Digital Detox, and it just kind of blew my way when I researched and I learned more about like how we're in a youth mental health epidemic because of these phones. You know, we're losing 50,000 kids a year to
my
suicide.
children do not have a phone, and I'm going to wait as long
for
as I
you.
possibly can.
Good for you.
Yeah, they're not happy about it, but
it's really really difficult
benefit.
in this world. But good for you to have and hopefully you're inspiring more parents to follow your lead. But but the adults are just as addictive as the kids are, and actually the adults use the phones more than the kids do. And so a lot of times we love to.
I'm guilty. Yeah,
we all are, and not judging anybody. And the big thing I try to do with my talk is I don't try to take your phone away. That would not be a very popular talk.
No.
What I tell people is I want to give you your life back.
Yeah.
So if you're spending 7 to 9 hours a day staring at that screen, and now imagine like I grew up in the 80s. If you'd have told people you're going to stare at a little screen 9 hours a day.
They would not believe you.
And you still have to do your job.
Right.
You still have to do all your responsibilities, but you have to stare at this thing 9 hours a day. And I'd say, oh, but people are depressed. And you'd be like, no kidding. You got to stare. But that's what we're doing now. And we're very addicted to these phones because they're essentially dopamine pumps. Mm-hmm. Like these guys that write these apps are very intelligent. They meet with psychologists. They figured out how to make, and dopamine is that pleasure center in your brain. And so it's really good and that's why when you feel that phantom vibration in your pocket and your phone isn't vibrating, but you feel it. Yeah. That's actually dopamine withdrawals. Your brain is going, I want some dopamine. When you look at the phone is going to give me, it's digital heroin. It really is.
Wow.
And we're all addicted, and we're all up against a supercomputer and knows everything about us, and all of our, it's kind of a little scary that way.
Yeah. Very much so.
But so part of the talk is we got to understand all that stuff, and then at the end it's solutions. So we talk solutions for parents, and so a lot of people are saying no smartphones until 14, no social media until 16. That's a big one with our youth. But most of us have addiction issues ourselves, and some of the cool things I found is setting timers on it. Yeah. Deleting apps. Like you can do all the Facebook you want, but you got to get a laptop out. And what you'll find is Facebook's not as much fun if I got to get my laptop, or Snapchat or any of these type apps. Grayscale is one of my favorite tools.
Yep. And that was what we had discussed. That you
can turn your phone black and white, and I promise you will not spend 9 hours a day looking at black and white, because your brain thinks it's work now. It's amazing. You take away all that fun color. It's really short-term videos are so addictive. Yeah. And that's one of the ways to fight back against that. Yeah. And the algorithm is really, really good, and it gets better every day. I'm telling you, they have AI that knows, they don't even know how these algorithms work. They literally tell the AI, make it as addictive as possible, and it gets better every day, and it gets more information. It knows when you wake up, what your favorite foods are. And it's pretty scary that way. Every conversation
you've had.
Yeah, it's listening to us right now.
That pop up like a hot tub. You may see that on your phone tomorrow. Yeah, I probably will.
It's not your fault.
Right.
It's incredibly addictive product that we've infiltrated and I'm really pumped that the state of Missouri banned them from our schools, but that's a small step. But I'm not very optimistic about the government coming in to help us, because these companies are so rich and powerful. Yeah. And that's where I really just trying to learn how to equip people with tools. Because I think a lot of us realize it's a problem, but we want guidance, we want help. Yeah. And, there's the Anxious Generation, Jonathan Haidt's book I borrowed from that quite a bit. It's fantastic. If you're a parent, pick that one up. I think that's a good place to start, but hopefully I can, but that talk, I'm starting to book it more and more. And what I try to do, it's kind of like being a comedian. You go out there and you try stuff out and you figure out what works.
Yes.
And then once I have a talk that's really good and I feel really good about it, normally I write a book on it. That's kind of tends to be how I operate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of how marketing works. You find a problem, and if you can come up with a solution, then you've got a product.
Yeah.
So, but in this regard, it's a positive thing, because you're helping people find solutions for issues that are, troubling all of society, whether it's trauma or technology or what have you. You've hit on a few different books. What are some other books that you would recommend to like our caregivers or our team that are dealing with the population that we deal with?
Yeah, so I love the Bruce Perry books. We touched on those earlier. Yep. Dr. Bruce Perry's 3 books I think he's written, but they're all fantastic. I really love Dr. Gabor Mate. Is a Canadian psychologist. He's got a movie, several books. I love his work. There's a guy named Dr. Peter Levine. Really like his work. Does fantastic stuff. Trying to think who else would I think any of our caregivers learning about attachment, I think is really, really powerful too.
Okay.
Attachment is the first trauma. If you understand attachment and trauma, most mental health things are going to make sense too. And so I'm trying to think of her name right now. It's a really good book on attachment.
Come to you. Well,
yeah,
I can link it in the notes. Whenever we share this out.
Those all can be fantastic, but any of those authors are really where I got my foundation from. And when you look at, they all have different theories, but they're really a lot of the same thing. It's just understanding about how our past events are alive in our bodies today, how they trigger them, what behaviors we see from that, how we regulate over and over again. That's how we heal. And so you see themes within all these authors that are similar, but they're all fantastic.
Yeah. But I mean, there could be one that you connect more with. So definitely checking any of those out could be good for our caregivers and our team, So now we do have you booked for our R3 conference in September of 2026. I'm so excited,
I'm excited too.
To get to have you, and so many of our team and caregivers that got to listen to you are very excited about that.
Yeah.
What would you say that attendees can expect from you the day on the 12th of September when we have you out as our keynote?
Yeah, no, I'm excited to come back. I still have great connections with so many people from our last event.
That's
so
awesome.
I love that they reach out and they connect and ask questions. And so, the big things I want them to walk away from is, hey, let's understand how big the problem is in our community. Hey, let's learn how to identify those fight, flight, freeze responses. And then I want to equip you with as many tools as possible to help people regulate, heal, learn, and grow. And so to me, it's most of the time we look at life through our life experience.
Yes.
And really what my work is about is how do we look at the kids through their life? When we start looking through their lens, they will start making sense. It starts clicking and that magic happens. And I'm excited about going on that journey again with all the amazing people you guys work with and serve. And the first event was awesome. And I'm just really pumped about building upon that.
Awesome. We're so excited. Cannot wait. It's going to be a great day, a great conference. Is there any final thoughts or encouragement that you would want to share with our listeners about just everything that you do and this mission that you're on for, anyone and everyone that's in a caregiving or mentorship or leadership or just a teacher, a parent, whatever? What would you leave them with?
Yeah, I just want to tell them thank you. It's hard. It's challenging. I always say there's more people hurting today in this kind of post-COVID world than maybe we've seen in a while, but there's more opportunity. Yeah. You're making a bigger impact than you used to make 5 years ago. What you do every day matters more. I know it's hard. I know it's challenging, but know that every single time you interact with somebody, you're changing their brain. So I get it. Sometimes you feel stuck, and I felt stuck for months. I've felt stuck for years before. Like, it's hard, challenging work, but just know that, these kids are like plants. Every intervention changes them, but some of them have to grow these really extensive roots before they'll start blooming and bearing fruit. And so just know that every time you interact with them, every smile, every hello, every how's that going? Hey, I noticed you're new, whatever.
Yeah.
Those things all make an impact. They all change their brain. What you do matters every day. And thank you for showing up and doing the hard work, because it is hard. It is challenging. I see you, but you're making an impact. Some of these kids are going to bloom in front of you. It's going to be the best feeling in the world. Some of them are going to bloom down the road for somebody else, but you're part of that journey. You're making that impact. And thank you for what you do.
Well, I love that you hit on that, because that's actually the theme. Our theme for the conference is rooted in resilience.
Oh, I love it.
And so, I mean, you hit on, the population that we care for, but we have to be rooted in what we do and who we are too, in that regard, but reflecting that back on these kiddos, that we're planting seeds in them, that we're cultivating them, whether it's we're at a Christmas party and it's maybe not even a client that we have in our home. It's another one like, hey, your hair looks great, or hey, I really like your outfit, or hey, that was a nice dance move. Like you said, any of those interactions is planting seeds or fertilizing or watering, whatever that looks like.
I love those words.
Yeah.
They all and we all love it. I'm telling you, I had a guy putting on my lapel mic like a year ago, And he's like, man, your hair looks good today. I'm still flying high off that compliment.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And so you're absolutely right. You're making somebody's day. And we all think these things, but we don't say it. And I think that's a good piece of encouragement for people is say those things those are all therapeutic moments. Those are all, those encouragements mean a lot to people. Yeah.
Because when we're confident and comfortable in who we are, then we can show up better for other people and pour that back into others. So I think the more that we can do that for the people that we're around, it's just going to keep flowing back and forth. So
fantastic,
beneficial. Well, thank you so much. I don't know if you've got any other thoughts for us, but I so appreciate you coming today and visiting with us on the podcast, and cannot wait to have you out at the conference at Camp Barnabas in September of 2026. So thank you for all the work that you're doing. Can't wait to read your next book. Hopefully we get to have that for purchase at the conference.
Yeah, that's a good goal for me. Make sure it's there.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity. You guys do amazing work. You're making an impact every day. And it's definitely the kind of organization that I want to work with and partner with. And I just feel blessed to be able to continue this relationship.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.